I'm Sean.
And I'm Stacy.
And we're
Priority Builders.
So today we're going to walk you through this awesome secondary suite that we're wrapping up in Spruce Grove. We're going to go through some of the building code requirements and as well
some of the design features of this particular suite, and also talk a little bit about why things might cost a little bit more, what features you're getting.
So without further ado, let's go inside and
check it out.
Check it out.
So Sean, we're standing inside the entryway of this secondary suite. Can you tell us a little bit about how we got here?
Yeah, so the first thing, the clients ended up calling us and they wanted the secondary suite. So we came by and we're looking around, and the first thing we noticed was there was no separate entrance. So separate entrance is one of the main requirements of a secondary suite. So we had to add this doorway here, which didn't exist before Priority Builders, but now it does. And this was no small feat. So we had to get the engineer out and frame it all up and do some concrete cutting, and it was no small task. It looks easy now that it's in, but believe me, that is not easy to add. But we definitely got the job done and it works really well. So Stace, talk about a bit of some of the design around that.
Yeah, so not only was this door not here, but there wasn't actually a landing here. So as chance would have it, the landing was actually down a few stairs, and we were able to just swap the existing landing with the pie-shaped stairs. So we basically reoriented sort of the stairs, re-engineered them to make this door and this landing and this side entrance, and hence the secondary suite, possible.
Yeah, this is awesome. And another thing is we had to change out the main door to the main suite. So that is now a solid core door. And it's also a solid core door that locks on both sides. So you both have to put your keys in there to open it up. And that way your tenants, when they're in the basement, they can't access your main floor, get into your fridge and steal your steaks. So that's a bonus.
Originally, the clients were thinking to do carpet on the stairs. With this being a legal suite, people coming from outside, in weather being what it is in Alberta, we actually suggested that they do vinyl, at least on the landing, because this is where there's going to be water, snow, whatever. Your carpet's just going to get wrecked. Yeah. So they ended up deciding that to do the vinyl on all of the stairs, which we think was a good choice.
I think that was a good choice for sure.
So we're standing in the kitchen space of this beautiful secondary suite. And Sean, I know that secondary suites do have certain requirements around like cooking facilities. So tell me a little bit about what's different in this particular suite versus what you might see in other suites.
So yeah, in a regular secondary suite, you always need counter space because you need prep space for the food, and you also need a stove, okay? So you need cooking facilities. Now a regular secondary suite is usually what I call a El Cheapo suite, okay? So you wouldn't have these awesome cabinets all the way to the ceiling with the crown molding. You wouldn't have this L-shaped kitchen like we got here. So we got a lot of counter space, we got a lot of cabinet spaces. And I guess Stacy, you could probably touch on a little bit of the design aspect.
Sure. So what we wanted to do here was maximize the use of space. As a result, we did a nice big L-shaped kitchen. They have a full dishwasher. They wanted full pantry, so we did that.
Another cool feature that we added to this basement secondary suite, which you normally wouldn't see, is a range hood fan like this, okay? Normally what you see, and again, the cheap basement secondary suite, is you just see one of those things that's kind of built into the microwave, and there's a cheap microwave above there. This, we went with more of the aesthetically appealing look, and then with that awesome tile backsplash going from the bottom of the counter all the way to the ceiling, just looks fantastic, Stace. Stacy, tell me about this tile here.
Yeah, this is a marble herringbone pattern tile. Obviously, you see that it kind of goes up to the ceiling in the areas where there are no cabinets. But because it is a natural stone, there is a little bit more that's involved with even installing it, because it has to be sealed. So if you don't seal a natural stone, it's prone to staining. It just doesn't weather as well, right? So this absolutely is a feature that I wouldn't expect to see in most secondary suites. One of the other things that I think you probably wouldn't see in most secondary suites is a big full-size refrigerator. So you'll notice that on this wall, we have pretty much all of the water line requiring appliances. So the fridge has a water line, the sink, and the dishwasher. This is an exterior wall for this basement. And so in order to make this work, we had to actually add a plumbing wall. So that took down about 3.5 inches in this space. But we made it work, and they get all of their wonderful appliances. There was a need to sort of add some storage in this space as much as possible. So we, as I said, we've used every bit of space. So this little access door actually is, is a really cool hiding space for kids or grown men, but also serves as a really cool space for under stair storage. It's not finished, but it's a really cool space to store totes and Christmas trees and basically things that you don't use every day.
And Stacey, I think the whole thing about this is maximizing space, right?
Absolutely.
Using every square inch.
Yeah.
You know, some builders, what they would do, they just wall that off, and that'd be just a void that nobody would see for 40 years. But with this space, it's important to use every square inch. And that's where we, the Hobbit hole works.
And we made it fairly low profile so that, you know, you can still open your pantry, there's no issues with that. And if the homeowners wish, they could have a small table in this area as well. So it's not really intrusive, but it's actually very functional. So one of the requirements of a legal, or I guess a secondary suite, is 2 furnaces.
So yeah, that's one of the big challenges with actually developing a secondary suite, is adding that second heat source. Now, I want to kind of reverse a little bit. A lot of people in the cheaper secondary suite want to go with baseboard heating because of that low cost.
Right.
And I can tell you, a couple of years of baseboard heating, you're going to far surpass the cost of that secondary furnace. And with that secondary furnace, when you're installing that, you have to have your own ducting. So when we do that, we're adding a whole bunch of bulkheads to the space. And Stacey, maybe you can kind of touch on why we do this a little bit different than most contractors.
Yeah. So one of the things that I hate to see from the design perspective is a lot of jigs and jogs with the bulkheads. So what we try to do is actually run really nice, clean, straight bulkheads to make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So in this particular space, the bulkheads actually define each of the areas. So, you know, in the living room space, the bulkhead doesn't stand out, and the kitchen space doesn't stand out. So we kind of try to incorporate that into the design.
And that's what kind of separates us from that cheaper secondary suite, is really that time, energy, and design that we put in.
So right now we're standing in sort of the living room of the secondary suite. And as you can see, the bulkhead here kind of frames this space really nicely. So if you imagine your furniture sitting around here, sitting in front of this beautiful fireplace.
Gotta warm my hands up,
So yeah, I guess the other thing about that is I don't know that you're gonna find a fireplace at all, whether it's this big or small, in most secondary suites, which actually is part of the reason why we had to have this ledge. So Sean, in terms of specs for this particular fireplace, tell me why we had to build out that little pony wall, that ledge there.
So this specific fireplace requires a 2x6 wall. Behind this is the bathroom, so that's a plumbing wall. We got a whole bunch of plumbing in there. We couldn't set this fireplace in there. So that was challenge 1. Challenge 2 was we needed a cold air return for this space. So this was the only position that we could have put the cold air return for this living room.
Okay, so why? Why is this the only place for that?
Yeah, so a cold air return for one has to be on an interior wall. So it can't be on the exterior wall because this is the frost wall, this is the exterior wall.
Right.
If you had a cold air return in here, all that's gonna do is bring cold air into the space.
Okay.
So the functionality of a cold air return is to bring the air back to the furnace. So the hot air is coming down from the ceiling and it's pushing that cold air back. So that had to be there, and this is exactly the best.
Well, it's the only place. It's the only place in this room where it could have gone.
Exactly.
Really, so,
well, this is the best situation that we could have come up with.
And I mean, really, you don't really notice it too much. It kind of blends in. Everyone's fixated more on that gorgeous fireplace. So Sean, let's talk laundry. Do all secondary suites require separate laundry?
No, actually, a secondary suite can have a common area with a shared laundry. So if you want to wash your ginch with your tenants, feel free to do that. I don't recommend that, and that's why we have our separate laundry here.
Yeah, this is a nice
basement.
Nice feature. So this stacking unit, this particular little laundry closet, I guess, was designed specifically around this unit. So we've maximized all of the space. The only space behind this unit is actually just the right amount for the plumbing, for the hoses, and it just fits perfectly in this space.
And laundry. The most important feature, you don't have to share it with anybody else.
This bathroom is not like those that you might see in most secondary suites. It features a custom-built vanity and a beautiful quartz countertop, as well as very custom tile work throughout. So the floor tile, the shower tile, even the shower base is tile, which is not what you would typically see. Even the glass is custom. So in this particular bathroom, in the suite, we actually decided to also bulkhead the whole bathroom. Reason being, the bulkhead would have been required to end halfway through this bathroom. And to be honest, it's just not as aesthetically pleasing to have a bulkhead halfway through the room. So we just decided to make the whole thing a little bit lower. There's still plenty of space in here, so it's not a concern. But yeah, this bathroom, don't expect to see this in most secondary suites. So we're standing inside the bedroom of the secondary suite, and before we get to some of the really nice design features like this super plush carpet, Sean, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the things that people can't see, like what's going on in the ceilings and other sort of technical aspects?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, Stacey. So there are a lot of things that you can't see above this drywall in the ceiling. So one of the main things is you need a resilient channel. So a resilient channel, to put this into layman terms, it is just basically a big long piece of tin, and it suspends the drywall from the actual floor joist. So what that does, that reduces sound transfer, that reduces all those thuds and bangs, and maybe, you know, there's a parade upstairs or something like that. Another thing that you have to have in a secondary suite is you have to have some soundproofing. So you have to have some insulation, and more specifically, you have to have 6 inches of it. So what we have in the ceiling space here is a rock wool safe and sound. So not only is it fireproof, but it also stops the sound transfer. And I know right here, this is the client's living room. So when people are sleeping, you definitely want to minimize that sound transfer.
And I notice in here we also have a smoke detector. Does that have to be in here? I know there's one out in the main living space. Why do we have one in the bedroom as well?
Yeah, so it is a part of the code requirements to have a smoke detector. This is a smoke CO detector, so it has to be both, and it actually has to be tied in with the rest of the house. So for instance, if there's a gas leak and there's gas down here, it has to alert people all the way up on the second floor. If they're sleeping, wake them up. And that is one of the requirements. Every bedroom needs one.
Not even just in a legal suite or
not
a
even just a legal suite.
Okay.
Every bedroom requires one, and same thing with every recreation area.
Okay.
Like a living room needs one as well.
Okay. I do have sort of a question for you regarding, I know you said legal suite, secondary suite. We do get a lot of questions from potential clients asking, they're like, no, you know what, we don't want a legal suite, we want an illegal suite, or what they would say, they'd call it an in-law suite. Is that such a thing? Is there such a thing as an in-law suite in Edmonton?
Yeah, so that's something we get asked all the time, and I'm going to settle that right now. So there is no such thing as an illegal suite. Like, yeah, you can make a suite and it's illegal, but you're going to have to call a fly-by-night contractor, because no reputable contractor is going to do a suite that's illegal. Illegal means no permits. It means no inspections. And people, if you're going to go get a secondary suite without permits, if that thing burns down or floods, your insurance is not going to cover it. Years ago, there was this thing where you could have an in-law suite and whatever. They totally scratched that. As soon as you have a stove in your basement,
right.
As soon as you have the electrical outlet for the stove, cooking facilities, it gets flagged as a secondary suite,
right.
And you need to meet all the requirements.
Part of the reason the city did crack down on that is because people would say they're just having their families, their in-laws living in the basement, and really what they were doing is renting it out after the fact. And as you mentioned, if you're going to do that, there is no insurance coverage. You might have trouble selling your house in the future because you can't really sell it as that. So yeah, thank you for clarifying that, because we do get that question a lot. So do you want to talk a little bit about some of the design features in this bedroom? I mean, it's a bedroom, so there's not too much to discuss, but if you want to talk a little bit about that.
I was waiting.
Oh, you're waiting, okay. So yeah, we have this beautiful plush carpet. It actually does feel really nice on the feet.
I was going to go do a carpet angel down there.
Well, maybe we shouldn't do that just yet. But one of the cool things about this secondary suite bedroom is this closet. So you are not going to find a nice big walk-in closet in most homes, let alone most secondary suites. So in here we have, full U-shaped wraparound walk-in closet, absolutely so much space for storage. And yeah, I mean, this is not something that you should be looking to find in most suites.
I thought this was the second bedroom.
It could be.
And I like how you designed it for everything is up high and you don't have any like gables or panels coming down.
Yeah.
Because then like clients can have boxes, they can have whatever down below. They can even put their dressers and stuff in here.
They could, yeah.
You know, and it just works out so well. And these bars look super strong.
They are. You could do pull-ups on this, although I wouldn't recommend maybe that you do pull-ups on this.
What are you trying to say? Go on a diet or something?
But you did mention dressers, and actually that's one more thing that I want to talk about in the bedroom. So when we were designing this space, we did talk to the clients about what furniture do you want, because it really is going to impact how we lay out a space. So we do design every bedroom that we tip, whether it's a secondary suite or a basement development, we always design for a queen size bed because nobody wants to sleep in a single.
And I noticed the electrical outlets.
Yes.
Is that set up for a nightstand?
It's absolutely set up for nightstands. So this is basically the intended bed position. You have a nightstand on either side, and then really their dressers both will fit sort of on this wall over here. Sean, can you tell me a little bit about what the code requirements are for the window here in the bedroom?
Yeah, so the technical code requirements are for egress code, and actually to go back, egress code basically means somebody can escape through the window in the event that there's a fire. So this window itself actually has to be able to open and open with ease. So like a child could open it, it's not a complex thing. And basically this area here has to be 0.35 square meters. So essentially somebody my size should be able to, when there's fire chasing them, jump out this window without getting stuck. Right. Another part of that code is actually with that window well. From the point of the window all the way to the end of the window well, it has to be 30 inches. If you don't have that, especially in the window, and then you're all complete, what you're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to demo all this, the wall, the framing, everything, go back to the insulation.
Inspector won't like it, right?
Inspector's not gonna like that, and I'll tell you the client's not gonna like that. So before you do anything, take your measurements, people.
Yes.
It's important.
Good tip. So one last little detail in this bedroom is, you see how the door kind of goes into this little pocket in the wall here? This was done very intentionally to save those few inches that we could gain then in the hallway for passage of furniture and whatnot. So in order to get a nice 30-inch door in here, we actually framed this in a few inches to allow the door to almost be flush with the wall.
So we're here in the utility room of this secondary suite. So again, guys, do a second furnace, especially if you're in Canada, Edmonton. The first winter with baseboard heating, you're gonna get that power bill and you're gonna cry, or your tenant's gonna cry and move out. So that's where we have the furnace that was in here before, and then we've also added the second furnace right here. So this was no small feat to get this in here. A lot of designing and planning, and just a lot of time spent to get this in here. With the HVAC technician, plumbers, we actually had to move the water meter over a foot. So one of the requirements with a secondary suite is an airtight, airtight barrier within the entire space. So what does that mean? That means drywall, half-inch drywall has to be on all the walls and all the ceilings. So in the utility room, it is difficult and it's tricky to do that because you have all the wires and you have all the vent pipes and everything like that, plumbing pipes coming through. So what we did was we drywalled, we taped, we did the best that we could with that. And then any of the other gaps, we used a fire block. which is just basically, it's a fireproof spray foam. And we just filled the cracks. And here we are. It might not look as pretty as Stacy's bathroom there, but it definitely gets the job done. So another one of the secondary suite requirements is a heavy, solid corridor. Whoever's moving this around, they better be working out. Otherwise, they're probably not gonna be able to lift this thing. Another requirement is it has to have an auto shut feature. Look, Ma, no hands. And another cool aspect and good aspect of that with the secondary suite is once you shut this door, it is almost like completely soundproof. So those furnaces can be running that hot water tank. Like, you could have somebody singing in there, you're probably not gonna hear them.
I'm Stacy.
And I'm Sean.
And we're with Priority Builders.
You guys stay tuned for more exciting videos and awesome renovations.